Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Network Merchandise Shop. Check out our large assortment of logo merch and our lifestyle collection as well. Just head over to abvnetwork.com and click on shop. We are also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for yourself, a customized gift, or logo items for your business or event, The Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. Use the number 2 when you type out The Bar to Go. Did you know Neely Family Distillery now ships its popular distilled spirits directly to you? To order, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. Finally, we are sponsored by the upcoming Abv Barrel Shop, a new liquor store experience coming to St. Louis, Missouri. The Abv Barrel Shop will serve as home to the ABV Network and will be owned and operated by Steve Akeley, Jim Fosnot, and Scott Creighton, a.k.a. the Barrel Buddies. To learn more about the investment opportunities in this new venture, listen to the ad at the end of this podcast. And now, on to the show.
Happy New Year and welcome to the Bourbon Show, starring Steve Akeley and Renee Howe. Today on the show, we're talking with Paul Tomaszewski, co-founder and distiller for MB Roland. My name is Jeremy Schell. Let's start the show.
Hey, gang, what's up?
Hey, guys.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year. Very cool.
So, Renee, do you celebrate this like a month ago?
Yeah, here's respect.
Yeah, no, it was in Canada. It was New Year, like, I don't know, last month.
Yeah, of course. Always one step ahead. They invented it then. So,
yeah, we mostly invent everything and then you guys follow.
We copy.
So.
Yeah, we're copycats. That's right.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So we're going to have a fun show today talking to Paul. He is really one of the people that kind of forged what a craft distillery is. He's been doing this long enough, so it'll be fun to talk to him. He's also very involved in the industry, of course, a board member with the KDA and all that kind of stuff. So he'll be a great conversation, I am sure. But before we get to that, I wanted to ask you guys about resolutions, but not your personal ones. You guys,
okay.
Whatever you want to do, you can do. What should be our show resolutions for the Bourbon Show? And because I'm just springing this on you now, I'll go first,
Okay.
just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I think that we need to commit to being who we are in terms of our interviews. We'll always do the same things that we've done. We interview craft distilleries one time, and the next time it might be a heritage brand. And the time after that, it might be someone who's not even in the industry anymore, but a bourbon legend. I think we need to continue to make an effort to do that. Never focus on just craft, never focus just on heritage, never just on legend. It has to be that mixture of when the interview shows come out on the 1st and 15th, you don't know who it's going to be. And I think it's very cool. It might be the biggest distillery in the world, somebody from Beam. And then the next time it might be someone who's just a startup. And that's just who we are. And I think we need to stay that way. We need to be true to ourselves and to our audience.
We need to continue to be our charming, witty selves, because that's personally what I love about this show is just these 3 witty, charming, great-looking hosts who, just really, spreading the good word to the masses.
Gospel of the good spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a hard one to do because I think for us, we have fun. We get to really get to talk to some amazing people, and I would say in the years that we've done this, we've never had somebody, whether it be, just out of circumstance or whatever, that wasn't just, we didn't learn something from, we didn't enjoy it from, they'd be people that you could just sit down and just, have a drink with and chat with them for hours and, always so generous with their time. And I think that's one thing that I want us to be able to be that way too. I want us to, when people are starting out, in their bourbon journey or their whiskey journey, that we're just as compassionate, we're just as sharing and open and willing to spend time, regardless of where they're at in their journey. That we embody that same, sort of open and friendly attitude that we've always been treated with.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think a couple more things that we can do, and hopefully we've done them in the past and we'll continue to do them in the future. One is to foster conversation, because bourbon is all about, meeting other people and having conversations. So, with the pint size shows, we take a topic, we talk about it. Hopefully we're getting you talking about it as well with your friends, your family, and with us. I think that's a cool thing. And another thing that I'd like to see us commit to do, and maybe even a little bit more than we've done in the past, Jeremy does a great job kind of bringing educational things. I think that combination of current topics and education is really a nice value add for our listeners. So I think that's a good thing.
Oh, for
And
sure.
we always learn something new all the time. So it's great to be able to share that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, guess what? One tradition that's going to stay is we're going to drink on the show. So what is everyone drinking? Let's start with Renee. Renee, first one of the year. What do you got?
Some Old Forester 1920.
Mm.
Let's see what I got here.
Okay. All right. That was decent. It could be enough. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I've got from Still 630 here in St. Louis. I'm going to pop the cork on this. This is batch number 12 from their single barrel releases. Here we go. I think Renee and I have tied. We have tied.
So
here's where we're at.
how's it a batch from a single barrel?
That's what he calls it, because the label says batch, but it's actually a single barrel. But he does. I don't know if you can see that there. It's called a batch. Right there, but it's actually batch. Barrel 12. Really, the correct thing on the label would be barrel 12, but it's not. He calls it a batch, but the batch is one barrel. I guess
it's a truly small batch.
That's small batch as it gets, my friend. It's one barrel. Okay, all right.
Well, I'm going to kick it old school. I'm going to go with the Bardstown Discovery Series, but this, if you notice the green label, is batch number 1.
Batch number 1. Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. Okay. A dead tie. I think that's a good way to start the year. I think it's a good way to start the year. We all tied.
And for Tim, we've got the cork pop, and now we also have the cork drop.
Well, he's going to win that. I mean, that cork on that thing. Yeah.
That cork. I think I just
and you know
broke the floor.
what? Can we raise our glass to Steve McNew, Stephanie's dad? Now we're also recording this. This is the 21st of December. A few days ago, her dad passed away. So let's raise our glass to Steve McNew and the McNew family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cheers.
All right. What we do next is we do put someone in the Bourbon Show Hall of Fame. Who's the first person to go in 2022, Renee?
All right. Today's inductee is a pioneer in the world of bourbon, specifically in the world of bourbon chocolates. This individual combines a passion for bourbon with her love for making delicious candy treats, and the end result is some amazing partnerships from the world of bourbon and world-class chocolate candies for people like us, the consumers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bourbon Show Hall of Fame inductee number 102, the very first of 2022, Kelly Ramsey.
Yeah.
All right.
Ooh,
Kelly Ramsey.
Yes, man.
Yeah. That's cool.
Getting you the bourbon anyway.
Oh, they are delicious.
Yes. I could not work there.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having to work there?
Well, besides the hair problem that you you would have, I don't think you do that.
Kelly would never hire me because of the hair issue, but
No.
for personal reasons, I bought the 12 Days of Christmas. I wanted to eat that in the first day, and to be honest with you, it was amazing.
I got to tell you, they came out with this bourbon cream chocolate Glencairn, and it is it's shaped as a Glencairn.
Okay.
And it's filled with a bourbon cream.
Really?
Cream on the inside. Oh, it is. They are dangerous.
Yeah.
I plowed through there. It's like a package of 2. And I was just like, it's got a serious amount of bourbon cream in these things. Because I was like, I actually felt that.
Jeremy was out on his front lawn cleaning out his RV shitter.
No kidding. Yeah. Ooh, because cousin Eddie and I were hanging out for a while because of that one.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, amazing.
Really cool. So if you've got someone you want to nominate for the Bourbon Show Hall of Fame, send us an email. It's bourbonshowhof@gmail.com. All right. Acquisition time. Has anyone acquired anything here recently?
Okay, so I was sent some products from the Spirits of Maryland. It's from the Maryland Department of Agriculture. they sent me some of their stuff, so I've got some Sagamore rye here to try.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And then I've also got something called, it's the old line American single malt whiskey cask strength. So I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yeah, it's a cool label.
Couple of new spirits that aren't in Canada that I get to try. So
Very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
That's nice. That is nice. Cool. I had a good day just yesterday as we record this. So I was out and about, and I went into a store that had the new batch of the 3-chamber rye. So it's like the holiday edition, and they didn't have a limit, so I was able to buy 2 bottles, which is cool. I got one for consumption, one to put away for later, and then they also had a local product that is being revived. So it was a St. Louis distillery that died at Prohibition, and the guy who's the great grandson of the company has started it back, and he's partnered with a local distillery. So he is they're making it here in St. Louis, which is nice. They're not sourcing it from anywhere else. He's sourcing it from a St. Louis distillery, and it's called Blue Wing, and they had it at the store I was at. So I picked up a bottle of that.
Nice.
And then online, I don't have this one yet, but I did order it yesterday, got the confirmation, all that. The Leopold Brothers, George Dickel collaboration, because I'm just curious. I'm so curious as to what that's going to be like. So that's on the way. So I thought yesterday was a pretty good day. Steve had a good day.
Steve had a good day.
Yeah.
There's going to be a children's book, Steve's Good Day.
It's me bourbon shop.
This man with a massive beard just picking up bourbons.
Yeah. How about you, Jeremy? Anything cool recently?
Well, a friend of mine helped me out get this bottle, and let me see if I'll grab it here behind me here real quick.
Okay.
So November was a little bit tough. My father happened to pass away early part of November, and he was born in 1946, and so he would have been 76 years old this year on January 12th, actually. But I was able to get this bottle, and this was a bottle of Kentucky Tavern that was bottled in 1946.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So old Glenmore product, they have 5-year bottled in bond, 100 proof, and color on it's great. There's nothing floating around in there. So I'm kind of looking forward to maybe popping this one open and doing a little cheers for the old man.
Yeah.
Here in 2 weeks. So so this was a nice find from a friend of mine, and I really appreciate helping me out with that one.
That's awesome.
That's great. All right. Well, we've got a good show today. We truly have one of the leaders in the craft movement in Kentucky. So, Jeremy, do you want to take us out to break?
In 2009, Paul and Mary Beth Tomaszewski opened the first grain-to-glass craft distillery in Kentucky. We'll talk to Paul after the break.
Hello, this is Steve Akeley of the ABV Network. Let's talk about the people who make this show happen. First up is Leatherwood Distillery in Pleasant View, Tennessee. Company founder Andy Lang started distilling as a hobby while serving his country as an elite Green Beret. Andy distilled all over the world during his time in the military and brought this passion back to him in the U.S. when he returned home. A visit to Leatherwood combines Andy Lang's unique distilled spirits and a museum of artifacts from his time serving the U.S. Share a drink with a fallen soldier at their bar where you can grab an acrylic bio off the wall that celebrates the individuals who gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect his or her country. They will also ship their distilled spirits directly to you, so check them out at leatherwooddistillery.com. We are also sponsored by Moonshine University. This longtime partner for the ABV Network helps educate individuals looking to get into the distilled spirits business, service industry employees looking to expand their knowledge, and individuals simply wanting to know more about the process and history of the spirits industry. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification at Moonshine University, and it's something I continuously draw upon and connect with fellow graduates. Check out their full listing of classes, including Executive Bourbon Steward certification, production classes, and more at moonshineuniversity.com. Okay, let's talk about Neely Family Distillery. In 2018, I met Royce Neely at an industry event. He started appearing on our shows, and we became friends during my frequent visits to Kentucky. Today, he's leading the way for young distillers making their mark on the bourbon industry. A visit to Neely Family Distillery combines family history, a look at what makes their products unique, and of course a tasting through their whiskeys, moonshines, and creams. Check them out at neelyfamilydistillery.com and visit them in Sparta, Kentucky. All right, back to the show.
Paul and Mary Beth Tomaszewski opened MB Roland in 2009, just outside of Pembroke, Kentucky. As they began, they were at the leading edge of the craft distillery movement. Today, MB Roland is known for its creative and outstanding products, as well as a commitment to Kentucky bourbon and the industry as a whole, with Paul serving on the board for the Kentucky Distillers Association with the title Craft Director. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming Mr. Paul Tomaszewski.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
I am good. How are y'all?
Oh, I think we're all doing well as well.
Yeah,
So
pretty good.
very excited to be talking to you today. And we can't, wait to learn the entire story of MB Roland, how all this came about, where you're at today and all those kind of things. But we always like to kind of take a little bit of a step backwards and say, tell us about yourself kind of on a personal basis. The rest of it's going to be dedicated to the business and all the things you got going. But we think it's important for our listeners to get to know our guests on the personal basis.
Yeah. So I came into the industry through not through your typical way of doing it. We went the entrepreneurial route, and but as far as what led up to that, I'm originally from Louisiana, not far from New Orleans. So maybe my ancestors were the ones demanding all the good bourbon down from Kentucky.
Exactly.
It's been in your blood for a while.
So but growing up in the New Orleans area, I was a little shielded from the fact that when you go outside or you go to certain areas, that not everyone necessarily embraces alcohol like Louisianians do.
Yeah,
that was a little.
They certainly do. Yeah,
that was a little bit of a surprise. But anyway, backing up. So I was in Louisiana, grew up there my whole life, and ended up going to the U.S. Military Academy and spent 4 years there, and did some time in the Army, the postgraduate time that you're required to do. And basically after all of that, asked myself, what do I want to do when I grow up? And I kept coming back to distillery because I'd kind of just really gotten interested in the process and how the product was made. And honestly, I loved how simple it was. It's, liquor and wood at the end of the day. So, I never had a desire to brew beer. To be honest with you, the hops thing doesn't get me excited, but whiskey was just fascinating. And it was so old as far as the process to what, the whole way things are done. A lot of things aren't changed. And so being in Kentucky, I was stationed here at Fort Campbell, and said, hey, when in Rome, I need to learn about this stuff. And I need to, go tour some distilleries and understand what bourbon is and everything. And in that process, fell into, hey, this might be something I can do.
First, I have to say on behalf of everybody here and probably all of our listeners as well, we really appreciate your service and the time you spent with the Army there. It's definitely an honorable location to be in. I think it's something that kind of sticks with you for your whole life. And that being said, we also find it very fascinating to see how someone's journey, things that they do prior to getting into the industry kind of helps them and it stays with them and impacts them as they get into the distilling business. So that being said, do you find anything that you did or learned while you were in the military kind of helps you today as far as that's a distillery?
It sounds like a long time ago, and it kind of is. But when we got the distillery going, the industry, the craft distilling, the smaller scale distilling industry was just so small and undeveloped. I mean, it was the Stone Age compared to now in so many ways.
Well, it was pre-COVID.
It was Stone Age in the sense of getting supplies and stuff for a smaller operation and everything. The industry was not built for, or was there for the larger suppliers.
Yeah.
And frankly, that was a big part of what got me interested into, okay, you're starting a distillery from nothing. We're not trying to attach any historical person or brand or anything like that. We're going to do this and call it, something that we're going to build ourselves. And, I always go to history because, that's just always fascinated me. In the military, it's a big thing, obviously. And, it's a lot of reflection that at least makes my mind kind of try to understand how things were when we weren't here. And you look at the whiskey industry, And I kept, looking at the brands, and you look at the history and this and that and the other, and you're like, when I started actually looking into bourbon and looking into opening a distillery, the biggest thing that I kept going back to is, there's like 6 or 7, 8 distilleries in Kentucky, and there used to be 200 or 300. And, we, as an industry, we really lost a lot with Prohibition. And when I say lost a lot, I mean, I kind of feel like the product field of bourbon and American whiskey was a lot more diverse back then compared to now. You look at the way things evolved, and just those handful of distilleries, a lot of them doing things a very similar way, which some of those things different than, before Prohibition. I kept going back to, we need to do it kind of this old way. We don't have to attach ourselves to anything. So the way we thought about doing it is, how would they have done it back in the day with their distillation, with their ingredients, the grain, and a lot of it came together. It's a longer story. I don't know how much I can get into it, but I mean, whether it be the grain or the stills, the way the actual fermentation is, the aging. We're not aging in a warehouse with 50,000 barrels. We're aging in a warehouse with a few hundred. So it's a different process there. But at any rate, I mean, we really just wanted to make something that was unique and different, and was kind of lost to history in some ways.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about this, before, and this industry has always been one of the ones where it seems like it's you could be competitors, you can fight for the sort of share of wallet, so to speak, but it seems like everyone helps each other. Everyone's friendly. Everybody wants to see everyone else succeed, even though you are competition. As you got started, like you said, there really wasn't too many other small, I don't like to use the word craft, but these startup distilleries. What was sort of that acceptance from, like, as you said, the big players in the industry when you were getting started?
Well, we were really one of a handful of smaller distilleries starting up at the time. And that was when, from an industry standpoint in Kentucky, the Kentucky Distillers Association said, hey, this is happening. And they've always done a good job of having a very fraternal kind of relationship amongst each other for the most part. Mm-hmm. Like you were saying, people work together. I mean, you're talking so many of the distilleries, people that work at the different ones, related, friends, all that. I mean, they move back and forth. And they're looking at us going, this is something that, we need to embrace, because they're looking at the industry. They're looking at bourbon going to the entire international market that it's really never been to, at least not in a large way. And we're not a bad thing for that when you think about it. Would you rather have 7 distilleries making bourbon in Kentucky, or would you rather have 50? And so from a natural progression, but also it being outright good for the industry, I think they looked at it as a benefit and really to help us stand up in a lot of ways. So looking back, I mean, there's a lot of things that, and there's still a lot of restrictions in a lot of states, but like in Kentucky, I mean, just how we could operate with on-site sales was quite different, when we opened compared to now. And that's a lot of the things that we've been addressing, whether it be, just how we can sell product to you if you come visit us.
Yeah.
So we read that, you had planned to open a distillery after your, sometime after your military career ended, but how did you get interested in distilling? Like, where did this spark come from?
Well, the spark, I think it comes from being born, because on my dad's side, we're half bakers and half butchers. And in fact, I had a great grandfather, random little known fact, bake a inaugural cake for President McKinley back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Cleveland baker. And then on my mom's side, Cajun and Scotch Irish. So, you want a DNA put together the best mix for a distiller. That makes sense. But in all reality, yeah, there you go. But and New Orleans area, that helps. But really what got me interested was I just found the process fascinating of how it was made. I mean, I know y'all probably realize this, and a lot of people listening to this do, but you need to tell yourself this. Most people don't even know that whiskey gets its color from wood.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you just think about that one aspect, for me, when I realized that in my younger, early 20s, I'm sitting there going, that's all it is. It's wood in this white liquor. That's amazing. And the more you learn about it, the more interesting, the history, the industry is. Like I said, it was at one point, however long ago before Prohibition, it got to where it is now through all of that. But I've always been a fan of doing culinary cooking stuff. And, it's right in that wheelhouse. It's just you're trying to do it the same way every time.
Mm-hmm.
So is it true that you ended up, jumping on your distillery sooner than you expected because an Amish farm had gone up for sale and you knew it was like the perfect vision for your distillery?
Yeah, it was. The good news is we were right about the location.
Yeah.
But the bad news is, we had to go into it earlier. So when you're going into something like that earlier, and I'd never started a business before, my background technically been working for someone, the government, obviously, but my mindset was such that, I can do anything I want because, that's no big deal. We can do this, And, that the way we really made it work was we started small enough with 100-gallon still and kind of walked our way into that any type of production over time. But as far as like the difficulties or how you do it, I mean, I had a lot of experience dealing with government people, so that came naturally, dealing with, trying to go maneuver the paperwork and everything. So that was a good skill set. But really the hardest part was realizing how little money we had and how much we really needed. And then how do you overcome that?
Yep.
That seems to be the consensus across the board anytime we talk
it's
to
everyone.
a distiller who
Right.
Yeah.
I don't care if I talk to multimillionaires that get into this business. It's
They're
funny
not
when you
realizing.
talk to them pre-business and then post once they've started, it's two completely different conversations. It's really
It needs to be like a side-by-side video of them talking and how they look pre and then in the middle and then the end, just like the progression of how this sort of like ages you when you just have a dream and you need to, go with it.
They often said the best way to go broke in this industry is open your own distillery. So
yeah.
Well, the best way to make a small fortune in distilling is to start with a large one.
Yep, exactly. As an entrepreneur, one of the first lessons I learned, and I've heard it over and over again, is don't ever hire anybody you can't fire. And in your case, you kind of went about a little bit because your co-founder and your partner is your wife, Mary Beth. So you get the privilege, I will say, of dealing with her day in, day out and going home and hopefully keeping the business and the personal separated. Talk to us about her role in getting the distillery going and what was all that like?
Well, when we opened, it was just me and her. And we were open for just a few days during the week for tours and tastings and then closed otherwise. And that's when I was producing product or distilling or bottling or whatever. And she still kept her day job working here at a local bank. And basically held that job for about 4 years while still working at the distillery. But she's got, because of her financial experience, some of her, experience in regards to just systems that really come into play that help out our process a lot. Mary Beth really focuses a lot on the retail side, more so than me. So, I can't even run a cash register in our gift shop. But she also does a lot of the, technically everything else other than production. I'm mainly production, and we all converse about everything, and it's a great working environment as far as her and I, seamless in a lot of ways, whether we're at eating dinner or drinking coffee in the morning or in the middle of the day, it's pretty much all the same.
Yeah.
And so we've learned, and we've always worked well together, but we continue to get better, I think, as the business progresses, as we add more people to the team and everything. And but generally speaking, production is what I focus on, and what I have, I get the last final word on. And then everything else is a lot of Mary Beth or a combination of us two. But a lot of your behind the scenes administrative type of things and putting out fires like any business has to do. Figurative ones, not literal ones.
Right. Exactly. It's important to note in this industry.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and tell us, when you got the distillery going, what you wanted MB Roland to be. So I think that's important. When you're starting out a business, you got to think, what am I adding to the market here that's not already there? That type of thing.
Well, we didn't want to source whiskey and go that route, and that was stupid.
That again is a general consensus across the board.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, back at that point in time, today
You really couldn't source much. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
and I think people, it was to some degree frowned upon a little bit. Ironically, some of the biggest brands that were out at the time that people were just clamoring about were all source product from the same location. But people just sort of like looked down on it. If it wasn't yours, if it wasn't what you made and you could tell the story about it, people just didn't look at it the same way.
Yeah. And I mean, and like I said, we didn't want to try to recreate or find a historical foundation for the business. The history we wanted to focus on was how we're making the whiskey. And that's the history we're focusing on. Other than that, it's do what makes sense as far as production goes. I would say that the toughest thing when doing that, of course, making your own product is, you're in a business where it's essentially a Ponzi scheme. You're filling a barrel and waiting however many years until you're going to actually do anything with it. And so, you can kind of look at our growth over the years up to this point, and, we can kind of look forward and see where we're going to go and likely go for the next few years. But it takes time, and it takes time and money. And if you don't have enough money, it takes more time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So take us back to, the acquisition of the land. The farm was there. What did you have to go through to convert that into a distillery? And why do you just think that was the perfect location?
Well, location wise, it was perfect for a few reasons. One, it was in Christian County, Kentucky, which was basically the only truly wet county in this part of Kentucky at the time. And so that was an important block we had to check, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next thing was in our county, the zoning regulations, or there are no zoning regulations. So the property that we were looking at, we knew we could make use of the way we wanted to. And that was obviously important. But we're talking an Amish dairy farm, didn't have electricity, no water, or not actual proper running water. Let's put it that way. And so we basically had to go in, and anything that is 21st century, or actually 20th century, probably, we put in at this point. And the good part was we had some buildings, we had a foundation to build off of, but it's taken a few years to really continue to develop things, get things to where we want them to. And of course, the Amish built the entranceway on the visitors center, or the gift shop, on the fourth side I would have chose on that house. So people always drive up and they're looking around going, where do I go? And it's like, sorry guys, that was the side it was on.
Yeah. So what's it like visiting today, other than a little difficulty, maybe finding where you go in, but what else is it like there?
Well, most people that come and visit us, and, I'm technically was a distillery connoisseur and still am before I was a distiller. And thinking about what I think people look at and the feedback we get, the biggest thing that people appreciate is they come to our place, and it's no question everything we're telling you is true, and everything we're
Mhm.
telling, and you can see it, you can experience it. I mean, we're a cute little operating distillery at this point in time, which is great, but that's our focus, is everything is on production. So we don't spend a lot of money on decorum or anything like that. We let, Mother Nature take care of that with the birds and the crops out in the field and stuff like that. So, we don't spend a whole lot of time on that kind of stuff. It's everything
Spend it
is
on the
really
whiskey.
focused on
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Well, speaking of the whiskey, why don't you walk us through your full product lineup that's available today?
Okay, so we do everything as far as our typical bourbons and whiskeys. We do it all right now, distillation and barrel proof, barrel proof as far as the actual dumping of it. So we distill it, we age it, it comes straight out anywhere between, let's call it 105 to 115 out of the barrel. And so that's what a typical batch is. Our regular bourbon, we call it our flagship bourbon, is a rye bourbon. It's got 17% rye. It's got 78% white corn, so another 5% for the malt. But it's all of the corn we use is local white corn. It does make for a different flavor. It makes for a different aroma when the mash is cooking for fermentation, everything. It has a unique aroma and flavor. And to be honest with you, we kind of fell into that. We happen to have our supplier here that supplies this food grade white corn that goes out to folks making tortilla chips and corn chips and grits and things like that. So it's as good as it gets for the quality. And it makes a very unique kind of bouquet on that whiskey, but the whole process, you can tell that difference. So going back to the products, we've got our bourbon, we've got a wheated bourbon that is very popular, but we're still catching up with that popularity on how much we make. So we're trying to make more of that one in particular. But that's a 20% red winter wheat. Same, it's got the 70% white corn as well. And then we've got a single barrel expression that we'll do for multiple ones, but mainly it's for a regular bourbon. And we also do a few other whiskeys, a rye, corn whiskey, wheat whiskey, all the same way. We like to work on a lot of stuff. I think it makes us better by having, different processes that make sense for us. Some things, I'm not sure how much I want to get into grapes more than we have already, but we do an agave spirit that's kind of unique because it's a distilled agave spirit. We get the agave from Mexico. We age it in our bourbon barrels. It has a very heavy bourbon influence because they're very, juicy bourbon barrels whenever we fill them up. And then we've got several unaged products that we make with, our moonshine, unaged moonshine, and they're all naturally flavored, everything from pink lemonade to a cinnamon cayenne, St. Elmo's fire, and a bunch of other flavors. Whiskey wise, like I said, we're always playing with different things, and we're working on a single malt that we've been making for a few years now, but it has yet to be released. And just like playing with different recipes to see where things go for certain things, we do one-off recipes on bourbon, one-off recipes on rye. And then, of course, probably one of our more popular products is our dark fired bourbon. That's our bourbon where we take the corn, we smoke it in a makeshift smokehouse modeled after a tobacco barn kind of process that's done here in Western Kentucky for tobacco firing, for dark fired tobacco production. And we smoke the corn the same way, no tobacco in it, I promise. And it makes this wonderful aroma when we make the mash. It smells like if you cooking a bunch of biscuits and gravy in there. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, nice.
I keep getting on that action.
Well, maybe we'll try to make that on March the 19th for you.
All right, yes, that would be perfect. That would be excellent.
I'm getting hungry just sitting here thinking about it. So
No
yeah.
kidding.
We talk to different people as far as they're in your position, they have their distillery, and whether it be just the ability to see their product, being made, smelling it in the morning, walking around the property, just having that independence, or hearing people kind of talk about what they enjoy that you've made. There's a lot of different reasons to be proud of what you've accomplished. But for you, what is probably the most rewarding part of having a distillery?
The fact that we're here doing it first.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth to that, but we kind of keep that going as a joke. I'll be honest with you. I'm really proud of. We've been able to take who we are, meaning Mary Beth and I, and some of the other people that are now involved with the business, and grow that. And when any business as it evolves, you can replace equipment and buildings, but people are different, obviously. And so we're growing it in such a way that the people that we have developed, the culture that we have is about as rock solid as it can be. So, kind of like when I was starting the distillery, I'm like, oh, I can do this. This is easier than going to war, and, but I'm kind of the mindset with the distillery now. I mean, I'm really happy with the fact of where we're going to go, because basically we're really good at guessing how things are going to be in 4 years or so. That's kind of what in the distillery business, or the whiskey business particularly, that's what you really got to be focusing on. So we're always looking towards 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ahead, even though who knows what happens between now and then.
Yeah.
I always imagine, like, this is a little happy thought I like to think of when distillers, you try something that's just so friggin' good, and you have that little moment with your crew or by yourself when you're just like so proud of this product and you cannot wait, to just get it out to the people. I always like to position myself in that in that spot, just knowing that what you're putting out, or that you created something so amazing, and that excitement that you have, that you just cannot wait to get it out. Do you have those?
Well, I'm a bad marketing person, so
yeah.
I have no desire for any attention from anyone, unless.
But do you have those little private? Do you have those little private moments with your team, or with Mary Beth, where you're just like, you got to try this. This is so good.
Oh no, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so can you talk to us about what it means to be be an active member of the KDA?
Well, I kind of fell into the position in the sense of KDA, because when we were coming on board as a business, that's when they were saying, hey, the year we opened, that's when they were dumping bourbon on the steps of the Capitol, because they had raised taxes on all liquor, or all alcohol in Kentucky. And so, when we came on board, one thing that really worked out well when we're trying to get some of these essentially 100-year-old laws changed and updated to 21st century standards and parity with the wine and the beer industry. When I go talk to someone, it's a little different sometimes when, as the business owner versus other individuals. And so as we have grown as an organization with more members, we have a lot more of a voice as far as when we do talk to our legislators and to show, hey, we're a legitimately growing, developing industry, that you don't need to, make it harder for us to be successful. And that really is the mindset of the industry is, I think everyone kind of knows we can't make enough bourbon for the big picture of, how things are going to continue to develop as far as the market goes, at least not in our lifetime. 20 years down the road or something, that might be different. But as far as like what we're talking about right now, there's still just a relatively small amount of bourbon in American whiskey that goes out there compared to the potential. Mm-hmm. So the mindset is for everyone, we're all going to grow. We're all going to be successful. Let's figure out how we can do it and make sense of it.
So on the show, we love scoop, and I'm not really good at getting the scoop, but I ask it on every show. So what can you tell us that's happening at MV Roland that no one else knows that we can share with, just a few people, a few of our listeners, us?
Well, you're getting a scoop this time.
Look at that.
Oh shoot!
Oh.
Oh wow!
Baker's
Can you
Mill.
just look at that label?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh,
That
that's
is cool.
awesome.
That
Sorry,
looks
listeners.
like a pre-prohibition.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
cool.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
listeners. We can see it. You cannot.
This is a mock-up, though. It doesn't have the proper gold leafing on it. We're waiting on the print. But this is something literally we've been working on for 5 years.
Wow.
It's a 5-year-old bottled and bond. We've known we wanted to make it for years, and it's the first product we've ever watered down that's whiskey. So that's a first for us. But not a whole lot. I mean, I think it came out of the barrel 108 or something, so it went down to 100, still unfiltered. So that's great. But the bottled and bond thing as a distillery, it's kind of like our rallying cry in a lot of ways. And historically it had a lot of context, obviously back in the day when it was all past, it was a bigger thing. But the whole thing about it now, it's becoming a much bigger, more
It's a statement.
exciting thing.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at that label, a certain amount of information just glancing at it.
Yep.
That you can't get from most whiskey labels. And so we're like, you know what? That makes our life a lot easier. We don't have to sit there and lay all this stuff out.
Let the name speak for itself.
Right.
Yep.
Paul, one piece. You got something else?
No, I was just going to say, but that's something we'll bottle every year, a couple of times. Almost like a what you call it, like a estate kind of deal or something like that.
Is that going to be a distillery only release, or are you going to be able to see that at some retail locations?
Well, you'll see it in Kentucky retailers, but it will be a little bit before we are able to send it outside of Kentucky, aside from any type of shipping.
When do you think? I know that's kind of a fluid sometimes, but when do you think it's going to start hitting the shelves?
In Canada.
Well, I'm hoping it's already bottled. We're waiting on labels.
Gotcha.
We're hoping to get it out the door in a couple of weeks, maybe.
Okay, cool.
That's good. That's good.
That's awesome.
Now,
So
Paul,
it'll be your post New Year's.
It'll be your
not
2020
dry January bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we're recording this, it's the 21st of December, and we here in Kentucky, especially Western Kentucky, really got hit hard with the storms that went through, and a lot of it was really kind of in your backyard right there. But tonight, going to be the 21st. There's a big benefit auction, which I know you guys are supporting with as well with one of your donations. But what's it kind of seeing the impact to the area? What's it meant to you to see the rally behind Western Kentucky and just supporting the different communities in the area?
Well, it's really cool. We weren't as hard hit in our area as some of the other areas, but I think on paper, we missed it by a mile.
Yeah.
Wow. That's close.
So for example, a bunch of farms about a mile west of us, they got a whole lot of damage as far as buildings and homes and things like that. But we were mostly spared just some minor wind damage, so nothing to complain about. But it was highly unexpected because of the time of year. That's like the biggest thing that hit me is I'm sitting there going, this is December, you normally don't have this type of thing going on except during spring and autumn. So it was, I think that was the biggest thing. No one really saw it coming. At least none of our, network of folks were really tracking it. And most people aren't up at 12:30 in the morning watching that kind of stuff. I actually was not home. Mary Beth was, and she got texted by someone saying, hey, wake up, you need to go in your basement, basically, which she did. But, it's great to see whether it's the industry or the local people in our area or just the state in general saw that, UK is going to be playing Western Kentucky and they're going to use that as a great opportunity to, get some more attention towards all this stuff. But it really says a lot for our industry when, you know, on a flip of a dime, on a few phone calls, essentially, they're going to be raising over $2 million for all of this stuff. And that's on top of everyone else that's doing everything normally, and Red Cross donations and all that. So some of those areas got hit really, really bad as far as, you know, their downtowns, and a few of them are just, they're never going to look the same, obviously. They'll never be the same. But it is so great to see all the people come together. Kentucky's a unique state. I'm saying that as someone that, you know, came from somewhere else. A lot of similarities to my home state, but the biggest thing about Kentucky is it is a small state as far as people go. When I say that, I mean, I can't tell you how many people, and our industry is a perfect example of this, but I can tell you how many people I'm across the state and we start talking and we literally have a friend, but we live, you know, we're over here in Christian County, we're 3 hours away, but that's just the way Kentucky is. A lot of people go back to the middle of the state for business and school and all that stuff. So a lot of people know a lot of people. And I think that really helped in this situation, the industry as well, in their mindset, where it is that fraternal kind of take care of each other mindset.
Yeah. Paul, one more thing on the concept of scoop. MB Roland, the name. I know MB Mary Beth. What's the Roland come from?
So that's her maiden name. And,
okay, gotcha.
I'll tell you the story about how it came about, or the conversation. That's a better way to put it. So we were looking at different names and we were thinking of different things, whether it be place related or, you know, something that made sense for a whiskey name. And never once in my head did I even dream or want to think about the idea of a Tomaszewski or PR Tomaszewski or anything like that whiskey. I was sitting there going, there's no way that's going to happen. And I'm sitting there going, MB Roland, Mary Beth, man, that sounds like a whiskey.
Right.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yep.
Yeah, sounds like a whiskey. And she's like, yeah, that kind of works. And then I said, yeah, no one can say Tomaszewski, so your name works great. She said you should have stopped when you were ahead.
Yeah, that's funny. So last question, you know, what's the future hold both for you and of course for the company? What's the future plans?
Well, I'll kind of answer a little bit of another question on the scoop. So one thing, I'll give y'all a teaser. I can't tell you everything, but I'll give you a teaser. Right now, and this is kind of, you know, a part of our big picture plan, we're working on an off-site project. And all I can tell you is it is west of the Mississippi. And it really makes sense for a business like us to be able to have that type of interaction with folks, you know, customer level and individually. And we've seen that at the distillery. So what we're working on is part of a bigger picture over time, just to build our business. But we keep going back to, you know, what's made us successful, what's helped us with our growth, whether it be finding distributors or them, really most of the time, them finding us, and having success with growing, you know, our size as we continue to build, you know, our daily output and all that kind of stuff. We keep going back to retail because that's the easiest marketing you're going to do, you know, for all the wonderful people like me. When I used to be out of the industry, you know, you go visit the distilleries and they're asking for, they're begging, they're pleading, they're coming to your door to get marketed to. And that's another funny thing about the industry, but that's a different conversation. But at the end of the day, you know, interacting with customers is the best thing we can do. And this will give us a little bit more of a presence, but it'll also help continue to send us some more dollars back to Kentucky to fill more barrels. Because like I said, at the end of the day, that's all it's about, is trying to make a certain amount of whiskey. Size wise, though, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, we want to fill this many barrels or we want to fill that many or have this many on site. We're going to get to a certain size where we know we're going to have, a certain type of production capacity. But, we're starting to have fun with this at this point in time. The business is really starting to get to where, it's kind of comfortable for us being able to make decisions and things like that, and being able to do, some things, some of the projects we're doing. But at the size that we're looking for is just what makes sense. That's the easiest thing I can tell you, because we're a lot bigger than we were 5 years ago. I know in 5 years we'll be quite a bit bigger than we are. And it's not that we're shooting for a certain target. We're just trying to kind of find where we're letting the market drive us.
Yeah.
And right now it's make as much whiskey as we can. So that's really our job.
Yeah. Paul, I think people want to follow the journey. Where can they do that? And I'm talking website, social media, whatever you'd like to share.
Our website is MB Roland, M as in Mike, B as in boy, 1 L in there, and mbroland.com. And then social media, we've got, your typical Facebook is probably where we're most active, in MB Roland Distillery on there. And other than that, I do not do social media, so I really can't tell you.
Your production. Keep production questions out of here. Yes, I get it. So thanks a lot, my friend. We really appreciate you spending some time with us, giving us some great scoop. A lot of cool things going on there. Some you told us about, others kind of just teased a little bit. So fun stuff. So appreciate it, my friend.
Well, thank you all for having me, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Merry Christmas to you too. Take care. All right. Bye. He's fun to talk to. He's definitely knowledgeable and just a good guy. I mean, you can tell he's a really good guy.
Super great guy.
Yeah.
And they've got some, he's extremely modest because they've got some great products.
Yes.
I've had a few of the single barrels over the years that they've done, and I've always been impressed with what they're doing.
You always find the people that that are the most modest and don't have to talk up their product the most have the best stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it just goes to show. I mean, this industry, it's one where you never find somebody who's just not generous with their time, not friendly, just wanting to help others. And it's almost like they see it, everyone else doing it. And whether it's ingrained in them or not, they almost feel obliged to carry on that tradition. But he certainly embodies it.
Yeah. And Renee, congratulations on a successful scoop segment. That was good. So
yes,
keep it working on for 5 years, and he announces it on our show. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
yeah. And I feel like had we had him on for another hour, we could have had all of the information to ever come out of MB Roland.
Because I think we missed an opportunity to kind of say, what guys talked about at the water cooler there at the KDA? What are you hearing about from other distilleries?
Oh, yeah.
We'll have him on again, and we'll grease those wheels.
We'll work them over.
Yeah.
All right, what we'll do next, we'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, it'll be time for news with Jeremy Schell. We'll do that in just a few. Hello, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network, and I'm excited to announce a brand new partnership with Leatherwood Distillery in Pleasant View, Tennessee. Many of you have perhaps heard of Leatherwood via our co-host on the Bourbon Daily, Kaylee Baker, who works there. Well, they're now an official sponsor of the network, and we look forward to everyone getting to know a little bit more about them. Company founder Andrew Lang brought his brewing and distilling hobby with him during his years of service as a Green Beret in the United States Army. Whether he was at his home base of Fort Campbell or during tours of duty in places like Italy or Afghanistan, Lang distilled whatever was available to him locally. We are excited about getting to know Andrew Lang and his team better via our programming and are planning a trip down there for the ABV Network crew very soon. In the meantime, check them out at leatherwooddistillery.com, where they will ship bottles directly to you, including their special Remembering 9/11 series, which is raising money for military charities. Seriously, get out there, buy some bottles, help a good cause, and let us know what you think. We're really excited about this partnership.
Hello, this is McNew from the ABV Network, and today's episode of The Bourbon Show has been brought to you by Stello Mints. Recently, I was surprised to learn that 1/3 of Americans are living with extreme stress, and sadly, this effect has only been compounded by the pandemic. This has left millions of people, like myself, trying to figure out how to cope with the ever-increasing pressure from work and life. That's exactly what Stello Mints were made for. Powered by CBD, Stello Mints are a fast and simple way to feel more calm and clear-minded throughout your day, no matter how hectic things get. Stello Mints start at $30 a pack of 30 mints and come in 3 bold flavors, peppermint, lemon, and matcha. And now, for a limited time, you can get 15% off Stello Mints. Simply go to stellomints.com and use the code ABV Network. That's Stello, all spelled out, STELLO, mints.com. And use coupon code ABV Network for 15% off.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bourbon Show. It's time for our favorite segment, The News with Jeremy Schell.
All right. So an interactive display at the new Four Roses Visitor Center takes you through 133 years of the Four Roses history. It is called the Al Young Archive Collection.
Perfect.
I
Should
like
be.
that.
Yeah.
Class. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
that's first class, and Four Roses, everybody there. That was truly a nice thing to do. And if you had the opportunity to talk with Al, before his passing, and that was one of his passions was being
all that
that
stuff
historian.
together. Yeah.
Yes,
It's just so sad he doesn't get to see that open and all put in place for him. But again, to do the tribute of naming it after him, you couldn't ask for anything better than that. It definitely should be.
Yeah. Okay, so major distilleries are submitting their plans to save the environment. For example, Brown-Forman, the makers of Woodford Reserve, and Jack Daniel's plan to have emissions by 2030 and achieve net zero emissions by 2045. Beam Suntory, makers of Jim Beam, plan to have emissions by 2030 and achieve net zero by 2040. And Diageo, makers of Bullet Bourbon and the, whatever that orphan crap is that they keep putting out, plan to be net zero primary operations, which I love that. Yeah, I got to say that. I love
the branding is incredible.
Branding is amazing. And a number of them have been super delicious.
Some of them not.
Yeah, some of them are definitely on my scale of they're definitely one way to go. But they do, across the board, be net zero by 2050. So they're on the same page. So it's good to see the distilleries sort of get in that, get behind that and then go in that route. Yeah,
that's good.
Hopefully the bourbon just continues to stay good and they don't water it down too much through the process. So we'll see.
Yes, that's key. That's important. Most important thing.
Okay, so Scottie Pippen has further entrenched himself in the bourbon world by offering a bourbon barrel-aged tea. These barrel-aged tea bags carry the same branding as his bourbon brand, Digits.
I'd try it. Well, you wouldn't try that, Renee?
No. This is the thing. Is that, and I've said this before, it's like all of these people hopping in on a cash cow to bastardize, something that we all love. Listen, I probably buy stuff from a different industry that's being bastardized by people doing cash grabs, but it just hits me harder because of what our love for bourbon. Like, listen, I know Scottie Pippen got a shit deal when he was playing in the NBA, and with the I can't even think of it with the Chicago Bulls, but like, I don't know. I don't like this. I don't feel good about this. Like, I don't feel excited about this. To each his own. You want
if the product's good. If it's good, great. Wish them the best and wish them all the best. But if it's just another, cash grab, I don't know. I just feel
like they're like, well, what can we do in the bourbon industry that hasn't been done? And then someone's like, ooh, let's make barrel-aged tea bags. And then someone's like, who can we put to this?
Yeah.
Scottie Pippen.
Well, and there's certainly a lot of that going on. What I don't like is so many, when you hear them talking, they're not really bourbon fans. They don't talk. We just had a great conversation with Paul. Again, they don't have to know that level of detail, but the basics and things like that to seem like they're really a fan. Just come on, if they're a fan perspective, and then because they're famous, putting their name on it, I'm okay. But a lot of them don't even think they sound like they know anything about bourbon. It just sounds like, oh, what am I talking about? Oh, this is that bourbon thing. Okay, yeah, I'll talk.
What industry is hot right now? What industry is hot right now? Let's jump in on. Yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah. Like if Scottie Pippen would want to come on this show, talk to us about his favorite distilleries, what he likes about bourbon, what he
then he's
like.
proven
I would
us that he's-
100%. But until then, I'm just like, don't just.
Yeah.
It is, of course, we live in a free country or in a capitalistic country. Renee, we know you're in Canada, which is, you're just friendly. You're in a friendly country. But here's the thing, it's their money. They can invest it however they want. If they want to promote a brand or be part of a brand, that's great. The only thing I would put out there is this. We're seeing a lot of support for Western Kentucky, the families there, and a lot of support in the bourbon industry from it. These people who are profiting from the bourbon industry, hey, you got some good amount of coin. Be sure to give back, help out in those areas where you can, and that takes all this criticism away, because you know what. You can't criticize when you see some, a lot of them are, and I can say we truly appreciate it. But definitely that to me, that always makes a difference. And there's some people who have done just this, Renee, as you said, where they're capitalizing on the popularity, but they give back, and I won't criticize, because you certainly appreciate that they're doing that too. So, all right. So speaking of that, the Bourbon Women Association Board of Directors announced the formation of a new Bourbon Women Education Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit tasked with raising and dispersing funds for bourbon women educational opportunities that support women and people from diverse backgrounds in the beverage, alcohol, and related industries. If you want to know more information, this is a great cause, great thing that they're doing there, go over to bourbonwomenfoundation.org. Sounds great. I mean, makes sense. And, it's elevating not only fans, but, helping people get in the industry and things like that. That's cool.
I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, great show today, gang. And had some fun, learned a lot. And we got a new friend in Paul. So that's cool stuff. We'll wrap this one up, as we always do, by talking about where people can find us. Renee, we'll start with you. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Renee M. Howe. You can also find me on Twitter at Renee Howe.
All right, Jeremy.
Find me on Instagram or Twitter at Jeremy Shell.
All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website. That thing's abvnetwork.com. That's the one you got to check out, because everything that we do is out there. Previous shows, blogs, so much more, abvnetwork.com. Renee, anything else to say before we get out of here?
Well, I just want to remind everyone to go ahead and give us a 5-star review and include a comment. And if you want to get involved with our show, head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/the Network.
All right, great job today, gang. For audience, we'll have a brand new show for you very soon. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya.
Goodbye, everyone.
Ciao.
Before we finish the show, let's talk about some great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you want to experiment on the stove in your kitchen or you're looking for a bigger setup in your backyard, owner Russell Creed and his team can help. They have multiple still offerings, accessories, and even grain from their partners at Goldstone Mill to assist you in making whiskey on par with your favorite distillery. They can also help you with some fabricated parts you probably can't make yourself if you are attempting a DIY still project. Learn more or order your still or parts at moonshinestillpro.com. Another friend of ours is the Goldstein family at Goldstone Mill. The Goldsteins offer a variety of heritage and heirloom grains to make the finest whiskeys in the world. Plus, they are more than just a grain company. They are truly consultants to make sure the grains they are providing to you or your business meet your highest expectations. Additionally, they work with mills around the country, ensuring shipping is as low as possible for their customers. If you're a distillery, brewery, or even doing this at home, Goldstone can assist you. Check them out at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or check in via email at hello@goldstonemill.com. Last but not least, at the top of the show, I mentioned investment opportunities at the new liquor store concept, the Abv Barrel Shop, being launched in 2022 by myself, Jim Fosnot, and Scott Creighton. We are crowdfunding some of the capital needed to open the store. Not only does it offer a return on your investment, but a lifetime of status and benefits at the store. Of course, this investment is a loan and involves a high degree of risk, which may not be suitable for all persons. Prospective investors should carefully evaluate the risk and merits of an investment, should confer with their own legal and financial advisors, and should be able to bear the risk of the loss of their investment before considering the investment described herein. If you would like more information, contact us via the under construction website at abvbarrelshop.com and fill out the form.
The Bourbon Show is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening. Cheers!
This has been a Steve Akeley production.